Alright, so these are a few cases why I think that silver is the investment of a lifetime right now. There's just so many reasons for a bull case of silver, and I'll try to list as much of them, as many of them as I can remember at the time. But I mean, it would take hours to go into all of it. But I'll just list a few of them off the top. So, due to all the money printing, the trillions and trillions and trillions of bullshit, garbage, dollars and yen and crap money and shit money and toilet paper that's been printed over the last several years due to central bank policies, there's a shitload of inflation. So, what does really very well in inflationary times, historically, and it makes sense that it would do well? Commodities. And what are some of the most precious commodities that exist? Materials that are used in industry, things like copper. It's very, very essential. And things like silver, which Keith Neuenmeyer of First Majestic would say is strategic metal, silver. And there's a bunch of others like rhodium, palladium, platinum. Indium is a huge metal that is on a massive shortage right now. I mean, if anybody invested in indium a few years ago, I mean, hell, you'd be rich by now. If anybody invested in rhodium a few years ago, you'd be rich by now. Just fucking rhodium futures. I mean, the gains have been crazy, incredible, because these metals that are coming out of the ground, I mean, they're limited. And the amount that is able to be mined, and then they got government restrictions and all this stuff. I mean, you have a massive global supply crunch in a lot of these strategic metals. Molybdenum, cobalt, nickel. I mean, there's a lot of these metals that are just, we're having shortages right now. Because COVID and shutdowns of mines and many factors. So you have a supply crunch. But at the same time, you have this massive demand. You have a demand that's higher than ever because of Biden and all these green New Deal people and the whole deep state and all this green economy crap going forward in Europe and Japan and the US, EVs and all this shit. The batteries that are going to be required to house all this electricity, the electrification of the grid, the computerized systems, all the telecommunications, all that stuff is going to use shitloads of copper, zinc, cobalt, silver. Very important metals are going to be used. Strategic metals are going to be used for the next 10 years. But currently, there's no way that the mines that exist today can produce that kind of quantity to supply the future demand of all these strategic metals. So that means that the price is going to explode over the next few years. So inflation is going to drive the price up. Then you got just shortages of supply. The demand is going to just increase exponentially. I mean, all these automotive cars and all these electronical cars with all these safety features and beep, 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 if you drive over the line, and warning systems, and all this electronics uses a lot of silver. So it's projected that over the next few years, the automotive industry alone is going to require 950 million ounces of silver a year. I mean, the automotive industry alone will bankrupt the silver market. I mean, that means like they're going to suck all the silver out of the market. They'll take all of it. They'll use all of it. So I'm telling you, there's a great opportunity there for silver. Silver gold ratio is another one. Right now it's currently at about 70 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold in value. That's historically and fundamentally way undervaluing silver's position. Because silver comes out of the ground at an 8-to-1 ratio to gold. So it's 70-to-1. Silver is very cheap. Another thing I just thought of is the short position on silver. The main thing that runs the whole silver's price is the silver futures market, the paper market. And that fucking market has been manipulated for years, like maybe a decade or more, by these banks. So there's a group of unnamed banks, HSBC, Switzerland banks, who the fuck knows, JP Morgan. They've all been passing it around, these short positions that these major banks have placed on the SLV, the silver futures contract. So they short the hell out of the contract and drive the price down. And they just keep the price capped at some particular price that they deem is necessary. So the silver market, everybody knows this. This is not just some breaking news or nothing. This is just common sense. The silver market price has been rigged for years. So that's another reason to invest in silver, because the price of it has been pressurized on the downside. It hasn't been inflated and bubbled up. It's like been suppressed. So a suppressed market with that kind of upside has a real potential for a skyrocketing readjustment of value and price. Industrial, demand over the next few years is going to be off the charts. And then you have investment demand, which I haven't talked about yet. Investment demand, like the kind of silver I buy, and coins and bars, that kind of silver is also at a shortage right now. You can't even really, the premiums on that is probably 100% nowadays. You would have to pay double. If you want to buy an ounce of silver for $25, you'd have to pay $50 for that same thing currently. That's how there's a massive shortage. Physical silver on the investment side is trading at a massive premium. And that means that it's at a shortage already. So you're talking about the short squeeze of all short squeezes coming down the pike with silver. I mean, you have the possibility of silver exploding up in a matter of days. The gains are going to be something just unimaginary. And the silver stocks, like all the mining, the silver mines, First Majestic, Silver One, Hecla, Mag, Arcania, Silvercrest. The silver junior mining equities and stuff, ETFs. All that shit's gonna explode up. So I think going heavy into silver right now would not be a bad idea. I'd recommend it. I mean, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm just a stupid ass fool, peasant, slave that's also researched about it. So I'm not advising you to do anything. I guess I have to say that for some weird reason. Should be obvious.